Welcome and thank you for joining us. And if you've followed us for the past 4 episodes, we've been talking about narcissistic abuse. We've been talking about how to read into it, how to know that you're being abused, and all the telltale signs. And then we talked about what not to tell or to say to a narcissist. And then we talked about why we actually end up saying those things. And then we talked about the mind games. This is where we are still dealing with the mind games. And I remember what Tim was actually saying, that why do we talk about this? What is the end game? The end game is that you will make a decision whether you need support, whether you need therapy, whether you need to create firmer boundaries, whether you need to get out, whether you need, the decision comes back to you. It is not anyone. For us is to create the awareness and to flash a light and to give language that this is what's happening in your life, and you can actually be better, you can be sane, and you can live a normal life and a healthy life, and you can thrive more than anything. We do not want to see people in bondage, lacking language, and not knowing what is happening in their lives, because that is one way of dying and losing hope and not making the marriage work or even the family work.
We've been on a road trying to encourage marriages, most especially the couples that are doing well. And by that I mean, provided you can score at least 5 out of 10, that there's something worth celebrating. I call upon you to help a dying marriage somewhere by telling your story. I encourage you not to be shy about saying the good that you've experienced in your own marriage. Hilda, I'm so passionate about this because the world has taken it upon themselves to broadcast brokenness in marriage. And the way they celebrate divorce,
the way
it's
too loud.
Yes, the way they celebrate falling apart, a cheating partner and all these other things, that happen in marriages is alarming. While the marriages that are doing well, I would say doing well for a reason, that at least my definition of doing well is you've kept it going regardless of the storms.
You're working at it.
You've kept it going regardless of the fires. You've kept it going regardless of all the challenges that you are facing. Then tell your story. It's not time to keep quiet. Remember that this is ministry. And I think there is no ministry bigger than your marriage. Before God asks you about 1,000 people that follow you, they'll ask you for your wife. He will ask you for your children. Because at least you don't lose your wife and your children. And present to me the million people that followed you. What kind
That's
of game
hypocrisy.
is that? You understand? So you probably, and I usually say that, I would rather lose everywhere
and win at home.
But win at home. And when I get to heaven, I'll proudly tell Jesus before I tell you anything.
I listen report about my family.
Here is Hilda Bahati Sabiti that you gave to me as my wife. At least I should have that as my opening remark. If there's any hug I would want, is a hug of well done, good and faithful servant, for at least keeping your promise to your wife, loving your wife right, keeping your family together. And these children that I gave you, you've brought them to heaven as well. That's super. Then the rest can follow. So I am on a campaign to encourage young couples that every day is worth celebrating. What has beaten down a 50-year-old marriage, you've overcome in your first year. So it's worth celebrating. Some people who have been married over 25, 30 years
I've never faced some of the things.
Yes, I've never faced some of the things that you've been able to overcome. The financial pressure, the intimacy, and so many and so forth. You've overcome something. Celebrate it. And then number 2, because I know in my circles, I'm sorry, I am taking a lot of time on this. In my circles, we've had these discussions with some of the men, and some of them have come out and said, Tim, if I put out a post about my marriage, I'll get 150 inboxes with blackmails.
That what?
Of course, of a life that you've either lived before.
Your track record.
Yes, and I perfectly understand. But you can't stay under the shadow of that
Forever.
blackmail forever. Fear of blackmail.
You must break
forever.
it.
The moment you break it, we've had our own histories.
It will go.
We've had our own. You understand?
Yeah.
Yes.
Worse.
Even worse. Okay? But it's a choice.
To
The
say
only
this
thing
is
I
my
will tell you,
present life.
the moment you step out, there's no going back.
Yeah.
So the moment you step out, it will be very hard to continue with the games. So it's a one day. It's
If
a
you
one
still want
way.
the games,
If you still want
stay in the
games,
shadows.
yeah, stay in the shadows. But if you really want an about turn, the moment you show your wife, and you're proud about your wife, and you're proud about your family, people will hold you to those standards.
Yeah.
So I understand when some men say, "Ash, it's a hard and tough road for me to take." What they're not saying,
I don't want
is-
accountability.
yeah. So, but I encourage you. The earlier you do it, the better. I'm over 45 now, and I love that. I don't want my next 30 years to have any regrets and any meanders and any forgeries and any... I would want to
Stress.
sleep well.
Self-inflicted
I would
stress.
really want to sleep well. Because at this age, you're not going to tell me that there is another more better shaped bum than my wife's bum. and I say it as it is. I have seen enough. You get my point? You're going to tell me that, you know, dark medium chocolate color tastes better. I'm at a point where I'm beyond impression in some of those areas. So you're not going to impress me. You'll be wasting your time.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, you're going to tell me that, are you immune? No, I am not, but I made up my mind. And you know, between where you are and where you want to be is a mindset and a decision and a choice that you make. So you're just like, yes, I will see these things because they are all over, but I have chosen, I've made up my mind that I'm not going to stay miserable.
Yeah.
Because I can't tame my appetite.
Yeah.
You understand? Just like when you have diabetes, you're diabetic, and they tell you cut down
On your
on your
carbohydrates.
calories, on the carbohydrates intake,
And you eat everything
and you
that
want
counts.
to eat everything.
And that's what
on the table.
happens.
You cut your life short. So
Yeah.
tame your appetite.
Yeah. Keep it under control.
Yes, it's the same about sex. Some of you are addicts. You can overcome that. You have what it takes to
fight.
You can't tell me that you're struggling with that at 45.
Then you're doomed.
If a 25-year-old
Then
is
you're
struggling with
doomed.
it, we have some work to do with them to help them. Because one of the things that I will tell a 25-year-old is that I don't want you to get to my age and regret.
Yeah.
Because I have regrets from my 25-year-old me. I hate the 25-year-old me for some of the decisions that I made, for some of the stupid mistakes that I hate it. When I look back, I'm like, I wish I would be 25 again.
To rectify.
I would just fix these things like immediately. But it's
But you see the
impossible.
25-year-olds
Doing the same thing, falling in the same ditch, and over and over and
not learning any
over and
lessons
over. And I'm like,
until they're above
"Aye,
50. And you're like, but
you."
you take too long to learn.
And that's life. But anyway, let's
Yeah.
dive into our thing.
Yeah,
A
we're still
continuation
going.
of,
It's
the
a
mind games, I
continuation.
think.
The mind
Continuation
games,
of the
yes,
mind
the
games,
mind
yeah.
games, and what? Because we talked about some of them, but I know if we leave out some of them, are like, you didn't talk about this, or you didn't talk about this. We can't talk about everything. But let's start with the social sabotage.
Or maybe one of the challenges we can throw out there, if you've been following, can you tell us,
Yes, share with us.
share with us, probably from the angle of, I've either seen or lived with a narcissist.
Yes, or
Or I
experience
know
this.
someone who's gone through this.
Yes.
And this is what I have observed.
Yeah, please, we would
So
love
share
that.
share those, at least they will help us
The feedback
to dig deeper.
And even the questions. If
Even
you
the
have
question,
any
because now it will help us
questions.
even polish, to
Exactly.
discuss more scenarios.
To be able to handle directly the things that you're going through, instead of us to think for you or for us speaking from the experiences that we have witnessed. So ask the questions, let's respond to the questions. And today we start with the social sabotage. the social sabotage. We've talked about it because some of these things are intertwined. Because remember, we talked about when they trigger you, you react. And when you react, they pick up on your reaction and they dwell on that. So it's more like a syndicate. It's a game, and it's a game that is interwoven. Now, social sabotage is when they cut off all your social support system, yeah, because they want still to be able to get you to where they want to get. Because for as long as you have so many voices in your ears, then it's going to deter you from being the perfect character that you are supposed to be in the movie of a narcissist. So that means they don't want anyone that can tell you anything, that can even show you, but why are you keeping quiet about that? Why are you accepting that kind of behavior?
The best example is you're watching this program right now, but if he walks in, or if she walks in, she would want to tear down almost everything we are saying.
Exactly.
So that you don't lose focus. You know, when you want your victim to walk a certain road, and stay in that lane, you want them focused on the journey.
Laser focused.
Anything that calls for attention deters them from moving. They meander. Why? Because when they hear Hilda is calling, they turn and they say, let me go for that conference.
Yeah.
Now, when they meander and go for that conference, they learn something that controls their speed in that journey.
Yes. Limits, yeah.
Or limits the travel. So they sit at a certain place and begin to ask questions, because she went to Hilda's conference and she learned 2 or 3 things, and those 2 or 3 things directly question the journey she was taking. So she takes 2 steps back, sits, and
now you have a problem,
and wonders whether she should continue with the journey. So remember, you had set your thing,
set your pace,
set pace for it, and you want it to move at that pace, and all of a sudden
skipping the pace. Who is spoiling my things?
Cut off. So what they do is that they cut you off the support system. They cut you off anything that would that will deter, or anything that will work against what they expect.
Yeah.
As I said, it's a movie.
Yeah.
And the script writer has an end in mind. The producer knows how this movie should roll out and how it should end. So anything that works against that movie, anything that somehow disorganizes or calls for attention of,
it spoils their game.
Of the characters in the movie, spoils the game.
Yeah.
So your side, when you see this, don't try, and mark this well, don't try to convince them otherwise. You will not win that game. When they come in like we're watching such a movie, like you're watching such a program, and they are trying to tear down everything that we are saying, let them do it, but continue watching. And that's in your own time. That's their disappointment. That regardless of what they are saying, you still pursue what you think works for you.
Now, the other thing, the next step that they will take is to spread rumors and manipulate other people. If they cannot manipulate you, then they are going to manipulate other people to being against you. And what they have done most of the times, they will go to the pastors. Either if it's a woman that is the victim, they will go to their pastor, or they will go to a boss, or they will go to someone that they think this person will really feel bad that you went to them and did a smear campaign. It's more like a smear campaign. So they will use rumors. They will come and, she cannot even cook a decent meal, but she's always watching these programs. So the pastor is calling you to kubuulirira mu mutima omulungi that you cannot even cook a decent meal at home, but you're always watching these programs of people that you don't know. Chances are they're even a cult. Chances are they're even dividing homes. Chances are they're even, all those things. And like, wabiraba muchi. At least watch your pastor's program, watch your church program, why? Because you decided to still go on and do your own thing. They will always find
Kakati, let me tell you this. When you compromise and say, I'm now going to watch pastor's problem. It's just a matter of time.
Even that
That
will
will
be a
become
problem.
an issue. And they will start saying, so the pastor is everything.
It's more important. You don't even listen to me, but you listen to your pastor every time. So they will now go to another person. So for them, they will always have, they will always want to spread rumors. The way they do this, cut you off other people. Definitely no certain people will come to another person and tell them, please don't talk to so-and-so or don't support so-and-so. No, they will always find a way of sabotaging.
Remember that one of their traits is they're so brilliant and smart. The conversation you'll have with your friend or with someone of authority in your life will be as simple as this. I wouldn't do. You will come, first, they are very diplomatic
in their approach.
Will request for time.
A meeting.
Ganti, I want to thank you so much for employing my wife. We really appreciate as a family
the help.
And but I have some concerns, and if you don't mind, I would request for some time to see you. Do you realize that?
Yeah.
Anyone receiving a call from someone
with that kind of demeanor,
approach,
wow,
trust me, you will create a time. You get that point?
Yeah.
But what he's doing is he wants you to fire
the wife.
Yeah.
So she has no legs.
So I remember I had a situation at work where I had a kind of thing. I was employing this young girl, freshly married to a narcissist. And the kind of guy who does not just control or does not just want control, but wants a real slave. Beating inclusive. And this young girl was covering up for the husband. She never said anything. However, there are few times that you would read between the lines and tell that I think she's going through
a hard time.
Something at home, whether it is lack or they're going through the normal storms of marriage. It's very easy to tell mostly when a woman is imbalanced, okay, between work, home, and it's very easy to tell, most especially if you've been with them for a while. You know their work ethic, you know how they're usually very productive, and they wear a smile, and all of a sudden all that just goes away. So you just know that there's a problem. So several times I wanted to ask this girl whether she was going through some issues at home, but I couldn't, because then I was being careful.
Overstepping. Yeah.
I don't want to overstep. But when I received a call from the husband trying to seek
audience
with me, then I knew there's a problem. When I told the girl that your husband wants to meet me and I'm open to meet him, however, are you guys okay? She broke down and cried. And that's when she opened up. So what helped me at that point was, now I know what's going on. So let me wait for the guy, Only to realize, this thing of as in, I have evidence that my wife is sleeping with so-and-so in this at
your
work.
workplace.
His name is so-and-so. Even the names, he knew the names. And I don't want my wife to continue working there. I want her to leave.
Out.
I want her. And I know the person you're talking about. And I know even the people that you're actually accusing. When you know...
You've known them for quite some
time.
You've
known them for some time. That I know that so-and-so can't do that. You get the point?
Yeah.
Now, because I had all these facts, I knew how to handle the guy. But how many bosses are able to do that? Very few. In most cases, they'll get you unaware and they will set you up properly.
to doing to execute what they started.
And
you become a character
I'm telling
as well, a puppet.
I'm telling you.
They pull the strings.
So when a narcissist fails in one area, they don't give up.
They don't give
up. They try options. They always have like up to 4 or 5 options.
Yeah, backup plans.
Yes, of how to deal with the same issue.
But it's always to bring you down.
Exactly. In the end, what they want is your knees to the ground, either begging for mercy, forgive me, blah, 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 blah. I will continue as you want.
And now they have you where they want you.
I will never do it again.
Yeah.
I apologize.
For what you didn't do.
Yeah.
And it's so painful.
Oh,
it's so painful to watch people go through that. So painful to watch people go through that. And I hope this can shed more light.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope this can bring some relief to some hearts, that you are seen, you are heard, and the world knows what you're going through, and you're not going through it alone. But there is always a different way to take and a different way to handle matters. It might call for more stubbornness, because you can never win at the game of narcissistic abuse if you're not stubborn. Olina okubanga embuzi ewalira bagitwala naye gamba sijagenda ku speedi ngisaze nsazeewo ntuule kale kansambagalire wano naye sijagenda. And because after some time they will get tired. When you succeed at tiring them, by the way, after some time it's tiresome, because then you have to be in a constant battle for your life.
They keep reinventing. What I know about them, they keep reinventing and reinventing until they drop the project. When they drop the project, now that will be another one.
Oh, that's a nice one. Now, that's a nice one.
Because
get out of the movie.
They drop the project because the project is derailed. It is annoying. It is not serving their interests.
You know, I'm adding that to narcissistic recovery, because narcissistic recovery, we've been working on, you know, empowering you, bringing back your self-confidence, leaving the decision to you to still stay in the marriage and fight. For those that want to get out, definitely you're prepared for exit, because there are those that are abusive to the point of beating, and you cannot say, "Omwana wabendi, go and just stay there until you die." Now, for those, we prepare them for exit. But now, I am adding another chapter of where you must be a character that is sent out of that movie.
They drop the project. They drop the project and begin on something new. Hilda, telling narcissists are giving her up easily.
I know. Oh, even if you walk away from them, my friend,
they follow you.
They will follow, even if after 20 years. Even if you get married and they are also married,
but
they will always want
supply
those, back.
But you've had some. We've had some of those stories where someone tells you, "We had total closure
10 years ago." But every time the person, they want me, they will never get any other person like me. They are love bombing me. They are sending me money. They are doing all these things just to make sure that they lure you back. And when they have you where they need you, they start again, because their games never stop and they never mature.
Yeah, okay, we'll go into that some other time. But then let's go back to the mind games. So,
the social sabotage, but let's talk about the intimacy sabotage. Because on top of, we've not talked about the silent treatment, because it is also a mind game.
Yeah.
So I think we start with the silent treatment and go to the intimacy, because sometimes the intimacy comes after silent treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which I think we mentioned with the silent treatment, it's just emotional abuse.
Yes, it's emotional abuse. It's emotional disconnect. They will stonewall you, and you will feel like you're speaking to a wall and no one can hear you, or you will, because they want you to say sorry for something you did not say, and you're refusing to say sorry, so they withdraw emotions. Now, when they withdraw the emotions and the engagement, chances are they can even withdraw it intimately, where you need them the most.
Yeah.
And now you feel more like isolated. You feel you need the connection. You feel like you're in a pending basket. So now you're at a place where you have to beg for their mercy because you feel you need to reconnect. It's like a child that their mother is saying, "Ndeka, go away." Have you seen a child that the mother is sending, but the child is fighting for dear life to stay? Watch their kwata okugulu, watch their kwata skati. Now that's exactly what happens. That if you're intimately isolated and sabotaged, he has withdrawn the emotions, and now you feel void, and you feel the need to fight for re-engagement, and you are exactly where they need to be. Because when you start begging, when you start apologizing for things that you did not do, that means they are basing on your reactions, and now they turned the table, and now you're the ones apologizing. That means whatever bad behavior you're trying to reprimand will never be rectified.
It's the end of it.
So they have won.
Yeah. And that's how it's supposed to be.
So silent treatment and intimacy sabotage is all leading you to a place where nothing will ever be worked on that you're complaining about.
Though I'm a bit interested. I wanted to dwell a little bit on the silent treatment. When someone, a typical narcissist, starts the game of silent treatment, how do you go about that? I'm talking about the victim. How do you go about that? Do you have any idea?
Now, the silent treatment...
Because, as we said, it's emotional abuse. And someone is just making it extremely painful for you without helping you to even figure out where the problem is.
But here now, what we are doing is we're helping you figure out.
They don't want the problem solved.
They don't want
What they want is you feeling the pain.
Yeah.
So for how long? Because think about it, Hilda. Someone just decides, whatever you try to communicate, it's like you're communicating
To a wall.
To a rock, something dead.
So you stop communicating to them.
Okay.
Go on with your life. Make sure that your life goes on normally. If it's a house, you're dealing with your children, you're playing with your children, you're going on with you have exercises, or you have cooking meals, you're sitting together as a family and eating. If they want to isolate themselves, let them isolate themselves. Let them die in their movie.
For how long?
Yeah. And that's the problem. That's what I usually tell people that say, you know what, you can kugumira these things, and you can, because it takes a ton of energy.
Silent treatment is a real killer, Hilda.
Yeah, it is.
It
frustrates.
I keep wondering how one would go about an issue that is entire, because what happens is they rob you of the power to solve anything.
Yeah.
And what they would want is you to break down.
And accept
it.
The way things are.
And you don't want to, because it's feeding into a habit you don't want to. So
exactly.
you want to starve it as much as you
can.
So
the weak ones
But the problem is how long? How long?
It has no end.
It has no end.
It has no end. It has no end. That's why I usually say that
for
certain traits, there is no end until you say enough is enough and you're done. That is why most of the people that come into therapy, they will want a fighting chance, and I give them a fighting chance.
Yeah.
I give them a fighting chance. But this is what happens. I usually tell them, when enough is enough for you, you will never look for me. You will act before you even come to see me. And this is what has happened. Some of them get out of their homes, and after getting out of the home, and then you call and say, the following morning, for the first time, I slept like a baby. And I slept on a mat with my 2 children, teenage children. We got out of the mansion and left all the 12 cars in the parking, with all the 5 caregivers and caretakers in the house, and we looked for a house somewhere that I could afford, that I even borrowed money for, but I slept like a baby. And I don't think I will ever look back in my life. Now, that is a person that has gotten to a place of enough is enough. I will either end up killing myself, because now narcissistic abuse, why I'm so touched by this is it does not just eat up at the partner, it eats up at the children. Now, and worse if the children are even teenagers.
Yeah, because they see everything. And,
Because some of them, do you know that the teenage children have given language to their mothers in these scenarios? And they have said, I was listening to Bahati, or I Googled, or I went to YouTube, Mommy, our daddy is a narcissist.
Yeah.
And this is what they do, and this is what they do, and this is what they do. And if you want to meet anyone about narcissistic abuse, in Uganda we have Bahati, and they will give their mother the number, and they'll be like, go and meet Bahati. But the daughter is 13 or 14. Now, that particular one that called me and told me that she had slept like a baby on a mat with her 2 children after taking buns of bread at night, they had run away in the night. It's the daughter who was going to commit suicide. That same daughter who gave her my number is the same daughter that told her, if we stay in this house, one day, I am going to commit suicide.
Wow.
I cannot continue to watching you like this.
In this pain.
In this pain. I am also affected because I am also controlled to the extent that she could not even get out of the gate to go and buy a bottle of water.
Oh, no.
And whenever he would abuse the mother, he would abuse all the children. You know, everything else. And the man has a high-paying job in the government, driving all the cars that he wants and everything, and has bodyguards and all that. And the girl, 14 years, she said, one day you're going to wake up and you will find me hanging on the window.
I know.
And the mother was like,
enough is
this
enough.
is it.
I don't want to lose.
I don't want
I've
to.
already lost too much.
I've lost too much
to lose
time. I do not
kid,
want to lose my kid. Let me get out of this marriage.
Painful.
So for some of them, enough becomes enough. Because that is torture. Just like you say, you cannot stay. It's silent treatment. Someone just decides that I am not going to talk to you. And they will do it at parties. They will do it when you're invited anywhere. They will disengage at the place where you need them the most. Because in a normal way, do you know that in a normal marriage, when people are not at par, when you're going out and you're invited, the 2 of you, there is a way, before you get out of the house, you're like, you know what? I know we've had our moment, okay? But we are going into public now. Straight faces. Let's, and you will find out that, by the way, after that, you will never go back to the silent treatment or whatever was disturbing you. Now, that is a normal way of handling things. But these ones, because they know this will feed into your pride, they will even withdraw it the more. So they will engage with other people and be happy with other people. But even if you come to bring coffee to them, or you want to show everyone that, you know, it's not as bad as it is, you will die in your movie, because they will prove to everyone that it is actually worse.
And this, I would say that prayer.
Yeah.
You know, what's impossible with men is possible with God. And the place of prayer is one that we should never, ever take for granted.
Yeah.
The Bible says the hearts of men are in the hands of God, and he turns them wherever that he wants to. And sometimes, some people are under influence of spirituality, of the spirituality. Some are possessed. Yeah. Some are really possessed.
I believe that.
That the things that they are doing are responses orchestrated by the demon world to achieve a particular end. To fail you as a target, yeah. So the place of prayer should never be taken for granted. That the answers that God has, that Tim, Bahati, and so many books out there will never have. That's true. So when you go to God, you get a fresh supply. He empowers you when it comes to prayer. And one of the prayers that I would want you to practice, most especially if you find yourself in a situation like that, is ask God to give you peace that surpasses human understanding in whichever decision that you take, whether to live or to stay, whatever. Let God give you peace. That in the midst of that storm, you will smile. In the midst of that storm, you will still hug your kids. That you will not lose everything. Not lose you. You know, the worst that will ever happen to any human being is when they lose themselves. Because before everything, you are. So don't lose yourself because of a situation that is all doing this at you, as in it's all
engulfing you,
out to swallow
to
you,
get
to
you,
finish
yeah.
you, and you're doing nothing about it. When you go to that place of prayer, let God help you, remind you of who you are.
Your identity in Him.
Identity, and then number 2, not to lose you. 3, give you a lot of peace in that situation. Sometimes our enemies fail to understand when the pain under fire is only giving us smiles.
Yeah, that's true. It's actually more painful for them.
So
to see anyone
when
in that.
someone expects you to cry or seek help or run around or call the village or a committee or recommend a counseling session, and you are smiling and you're thanking God and you're loving your children and your life is going on, it's one way, one super way. But trust me, that cannot come easy if you do not involve God.
Yeah.
I speak as a spiritual authority, that it's only God who can give you that peace. You know, it's like a river.
And no one controls its flow.
It's like a river that flows, that will give you sleep. We are talking about intimacy, that you will never, He will give you peace that you will forget that
you have problems.
that you even need to be intimate with anyone.
I know.
Because whoever that is causing pain is using everything
around, manipulating you
manipulating,
sexually.
exactly, to their advantage.
I know. Like, who does that?
You know?
Wow.
So, God here, super.
Very pivotal.
And sometimes what we have failed to do in marriages and in relationships is to pray. The devil somehow finds a way of robbing that out of you, that you can't have a superpower to depend on for things that are above you, because you're dealing with superiority, with spiritual things,
principalities,
and
invisible powers. Yeah.
Yes,
you are visible to them, but
because anyone who's a super narcissist is extremely demonic.
Yeah.
In the way they think and do. You cannot
it's inhumane.
You cannot tell me that God gave me a free will and you want to rob it from me.
I know.
Then you are working against the very Creator Himself. Because God gave me a free will. God is not in
to even choose who to worship.
He's not in the business of dictating,
manipulating.
But God is able to change a situation at whatever situation and at whatever point. That I could have made so many mistakes, and all of a sudden when I turn to God, He begins to rewrite my history from there. But wasn't He there when I was making the mistakes? I was there. But He respects the fact that He's given me the will.
The free will.
Now, when someone robs you of the will
that God gave you,
then
they are working
then they're
against
demonic,
God.
they're devils. So what business do you have serving the devil? What business do you have listening to the devil? What business do you have entertaining someone who wants manipulation and control? I don't believe in that. I don't. Just like right now, my girl, when I will dictate when she can use the phone. I will dictate when she has to be on TV or watching TV. I would want to have control, have control of the content.
But still, you explain to her while you're doing that.
But then, what I'm doing is to protect her from possible harm. When they are of age, and by that I mean when they are adults, I will not. I will not want to fail to sleep with my wife in my house.
Because
someone has chosen a different path. It is painful, but I would want to exercise the same that God gave me, free will.
Yeah.
And what will be my prayer? Whatever that Ariella is, Lord, I speak your protection upon her. I speak angels to guard her, her coming in and her going out. Whatever that she touches, whatever
you do your
I
job
build
as
a
a
hedge
parent.
of protection around her. I'll pray for her, but I will not have sleepless nights. They have to
snoop.
Ngendeko ku hostel ye.
I know.
When she comes home and she says I'm pregnant for a man I don't know, we'll pick it up from there. Is it bad? It is bad. But then I cannot be God.
Yeah, you cannot be everywhere.
And even God himself knew it. That for him to form team that I've become right now, sometimes it's out of ebitositosi, netose dungi, nebitakataka, nebirala, and God allows it. It's not perfect clay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's mixed up. He allows you go into those mixed multitudes and you're beaten up. You even go to jail.
Until you make better choices.
But touch not his life. So your life is not touched because God has a better mission for you.
That you learn the
At a point when you turn to him, he's like, now is the point. Your name was Saul, but from today onwards, you're Paul. And whatever that you did to these Christians, you will go through them. You will test a bit of the bitterness of the medicine that you give.
That you give them.
You get the point?
Yeah.
So whatever that it is, the place of prayer
is very important. Very important.
Pray.
Without ceasing.
Pray.
Yeah.
Trust me. If there is anything that is charged to every marriage, it's prayer.
Prayer.
Because everything works against you staying with your wife, you staying as a family with your children, you staying sane and sober.
As a God-ordained institution.
That beats down the kingdom of the devil. That's why
so it's a warfare.
There are lots of distractions that you come out your way. Your wife will get a lot of money, and all of a sudden she feels like the world that life has just begun. Life has just begun. She will look down on you, and she will call you
whatever
a loser.
Names.
That's another dimension, another phase of life
Yeah.
that God has allowed to come your way. You will not be a loser because she said you're a loser. And the money that she has does not determine how far you can go as a family. So don't buy into all that nonsense to deter you from seeing the bigger picture. You get my point?
I do. Let's get back to the place of prayer.
Of prayer.
I want us to finish up our mind games. I know that we cannot exhaustively handle them, but I want us to talk about the strategic inconsistency. I know. Abanga gendo chikola natachikola. Abanga kugamba it's they're inconsistent for a reason.
It's intentional.
When they choose to do, they do it with a calculated reason.
Yeah.
When they choose not to do it, because in a proper marriage, we expect that love is going to be consistent, that intimacy is going to be consistent, that the help is going to be consistent. As in the connection, you expect that.
Can I give you an example, an easy one? Your anniversary is next month. Say I call it June. And we are in April. And he promises, I want us to go for a holiday for a week. It's a promise. In June, our anniversary will be away for 7 days to celebrate our anniversary.
Yep.
And I'm showing you how a narcissist works. In May, he still comes back and reminds you of the promise that he made that's happening in June. So he sets you up properly and builds expectations. You start seeing yourself on this tour holiday in Hawaii, wherever. He even sends you reservations for the hotel because it's free to do those reservations.
I know.
He does. He sends you the reservations for the
done.
tickets. Can even go ahead and secure the visas. 1 week too. He accuses you of something. Nemuyomba, nemuvao, nemutadamu kwogera paka nga anniversary wedde.
Oh Lord.
That's what they do.
Oh Lord. And then the whole time you're blaming yourself
for it.
Not knowing you're falling into his
It's as simple
trap.
as this. Yalabye messages on your phone from a friend.
Who
said I miss you?
everyone will be.
Who said I miss you? Ekyo kakyokka ne kimumala.
ng'abadde anoonya akasonga n'akafuna lwaki ekyo n'ogenda ku pate n'olwayo
ne muyomba
or a friend drops you
ne muyomba ne mukomyekereza nga anniversary ekoze ki
ewedde you fly over the anniversary fast forward and then you can't claim anything
you actually keep blaming yourself for it kubanga ajja kugamba by the time I secured the visas made a hotel reservations
you will feel like they were really serious kumbe
yali yabala kintu kye
bufere bwennyini
yabala ekintu kye bulungi nnyo n'akigusa golowooza nti it's because of the messages oba the drop so you'll blame yourself for the messages or the friend who dropped you or anything but all that they want is control as simple as that.
When you tell your mother or someone muligenda olulala owange byatabuseetabuseemu kaawo yet and that is where you have to have discernment. Do you know that there are people that have gotten to a place where they now understand their husbands in such a manner that ojja kuba mu movie yo weefulukute book the hotel book the visas book the what naye nga toli excited agamba atwalize muri kati atunula neri agamba era agamba kuno simanyi kyabaza agamba nti owange mulindeko mu maaso awo alina byagenda otegula awo mujja muwulira nga agwa mu bikopo let me tell you the woman ajja kuwanga yamutuuka wano yabirabala dda kati you're trying to hype them up wandikuzeeyo obugoye wandikoze eki bwe ndiba njagala vacation njajja bookingira simanyi internet gyeri simanyi Dubai gye wali ebyoyo sibigenderako kati yamala dda yalabuka ate era bw'ati ajjafuna wamutayiriza let me tell you olunaku olukulu terulina kugendera abo nga tonyizeeko when you're living with a narcissist terulina kugendera abo mu birthday anniversary Christmas wakirinzira emmere I have backups I have backup behaviors wakirinzira emmere wakiri nebuzabuzaawo nembeera ne emergency so that because nkimanyi kyoyagala you would want us to be even if you owaganye towa pays attention to the vacation but you would want us to be as a family or maybe you've invited some friends by the way he can invite friends ne bajja ye naabulawo
wow
as in you have it the pain has to be there but era waliwo abagamba oba kulum nagenda kukola kaki nga they expect Christmas ja alina kagenda okukola
walina okuba bakajja
simanyi gye kagenda kuviira that is why some of them they will never celebrate any big days they will avoid them as much as they can olaba mukazi ogamba shopping simanyi biki nkoko biki bw'aba yagala shopping bw'aba yagala ayitama buli kyayagala akikole nze njabbibwamu bugwi nga yakoowa drama
ajjukira the previous Christmas yeefulukuta n'akola buli kimu all of a sudden the guy refused to eat simply because he claims wayita abantu be wayita tewayita
someone oba si kyekyo olina gwe wayita ye gwe atayagala ajje and all of a sudden the blame is on you so those inconsistencies one day they sound more and let me tell you olunaku olukulu bwe luggwa they will love bomb you
go back to normal.
They will go back to normal and even do things that you never expected.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
The inconsistency.
That's the other thing that on the bit about consistency and inconsistency, I'm very intentional about doing that over and over. They never see closure on anything. They want everything to stay pending because they want to come back and do the same thing over and over again.
Tables.
So don't expect a narcissist to come and say, let's seek closure on this particular topic. They don't. Even when they try to, they're going to hurt you more. All they want is to draw your attention because you were running away.
That's true.
So in the process, more attention, hurting even more. In the process of trying to solve one thing, you create 2 or 3 more problems.
For yourself.
Either wamuzemu bubi, because they will spin turntables on you at the least expected time. When you think, probably they're sobering up and they would want to clean their mess. The mess that they're trying to clean, they create more mess out of the simple one. Actually, you're like, I wish I left it the way it was.
Yep.
So sometimes even when they want to seek closure, don't dive in wholeheartedly. Don't build false expectations. Don't think that something good is going to come out of it. In most cases, if he's a narcissist, they hate to have closure on anything.
Yeah.
Whatever that they are trying to do is seek more issues so that
To
they have
pile
more
up.
control over you. So, buli bwakufunako ekintu kyayinza okukozesa against you, to them it's a win.
They have kept it in their bag because it has to come back as a weapon at an opportune moment.
So the example I gave about anniversary, it will come back at a point where you now have a very legitimate claim on something, and you are flying all over and okubendu kolachi ochilese back today nalyoka achileta. When I tried to organize an anniversary for her, ngamazo kola chimu, guess how she paid me?
And everyone cold water. By the way, they will take it to the extreme. They will never mention it was a message.
My anniversary.
Wow.
And you're like, oh, by the time you say it's just a friend who dropped me, everyone has already registered into back. And you know how that sounds.
I know, you can't come back from that.
You're like, so and so just dropped me. No, he didn't just drop you. Had sex in the car. And you're like, what? Because you're hearing it for the very first time.
Hey!
I caught you having sex in the car.
In the car. And everyone now here say, before everyone, there is no taking it back. Oh. And that is where you ask someone. Gamba tuleme kukaya nanyo. Kati gwa yagala gwe wakwata nga yangagira. Let me go and have proper sex with that person. And my friend, move out of Igure and never come back. Agamba anti wantuma je wanda banga nyenda. Kangende nyendere ddala. Sometimes I think you just need to be stubborn, and I think you just need, to just hate the situation and say, you know what? Kati mama, gwali n'ekisa ekingi. Gwategeka anniversary. Onkute nga nchiti. Yongerako ne byatayongeddeeko. Ndoza kugulu kwali south ne east. Byogere bulungi kubanga bwogamba obwenzi, people imagine it was bwenzi butono. Buno obwenzi bulabika bwali na bunene nnyo. Naye kaakati gwe yansanga ng'omutwe guli west ng'emagulu gali east gali wewe. Kati mama gwali n'ekisa ekingi. Okunsonyiwa nsigale nga bampita mukyala gundi. Nakamba nti sigala n'obwaholi bwo. Sigala n'emirembe gyo. Nze yali mu mutwe gwange east n'amagulu gali south west. Kangende mbikolera ddala. Obere n'emirembe, sigaza n'emirembe, and leave him with all the flying monkeys that he has indoctrinated in the room. Leave them in their movie, walk away and never look back. Never aliyegaidira atya. Never alibanga emusajja asembayo ku nsi. Never get married. Episode closed. Mukama abere damu.